Yo, what's going on, guys? This is Snape here and I'm back with a brand new video. Today, guys, we're going to be doing a weapon tier list for Season 23. If you do enjoy, though, please like, comment, subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump straight into this. So we are going to be covering all the weapons that are available in Season 23. Now, we are into Split 2, and there is going to be some changes coming in a month or so. There is going to be some patch notes. I think there is map rotations coming in, and there is going to be, I think, and I believe there will be some weapon changes. I don't 100% know that for a fact, but there is going to be stuff coming very, very soon. But at the moment, because it's Split 2 has just started, we can just dive straight into it because we know there is going to be a little bit of a wait before any changes happen. So hopefully we've got a nice accurate tier list of the weapons this season. So moving straight in, we've got the alternator. Now, where do I think the alternator deserves to be? The alternator is a super reliable gun. It is a great gun to be using off a drop. It really does help you with, honestly, just drilling some people with some bullets, with some damage, without having to worry about one skill, because you don't need attachments for this gun. The recoil is so easy to control. The only issue is there is no reason to take it outside of that position. Why else would you be wanting to run a alternator after drop? I do not know. It's just not needed after that drop. So I really feel like the only time this gun is actually going to be worth using is off the drop. Now, of course, we have a lot of tiers in this video, and I am going to be a hard critique. I am not going to be nice about some weapons, so I'm going to be harsh. And I feel like, honestly, even though this is a nice reliable weapon and it is a very, very good gun to be using off a drop, I don't want to move it too high up, so I am going to pop it in the, I don't think it can go much higher. It's everybody's best friend. It's a nice reliable gun off a drop, and if disruptor rounds were still around, it might be a different situation, but for myself, we're moving it straight in D. Moving into next, we have the Devotion. Now, the Devotion is an excellent gun, but it is not the easiest weapon to be using. Of course, no, you have the delay when you're about to shoot, but also as well, you are no longer available to have turbocharger. This is obviously going to make a difference, and it is going to be more difficult to actually wipe people as much. Now, saying that though, I have been absolutely ruined by the Devotion many times in the season, and sometimes I'm just there like, how the hell are these guys managing to do this? So the skill to use the Devotion does take quite a lot. If you are a very skilled player, then you are going to be absolutely loving this weapon, but for a lot of other players, it's actually too hard to use. M&K players, I think, actually benefit the most from using this weapon, but at the end of the day, there is a lot of other better weapons which are easier to use and do, if anything, the same, if not more damage. So I don't see the point in putting the Devotion too high. I think I am going to put the Devotion in C, which might seem a little bit harsh, but I just feel like there's a lot better guns that are easier to use and do pretty much the exact same results. Moving into next, we have the EVA 8. Now, the EVA 8 is a brilliant shotgun. It happened, say, last season. I'm pretty sure I made a video saying how good the EVA 8 was, and a lot of people were sleeping on it. And of course, we've now moved into Season 23. Shotgun meta is still in the mix, and people are still using shotguns. Now, for that question is, like, what one would I prefer, Massive or EVA? Personally, I'm torn between the two. If I've got a gold or purple shotgun bolt, I really don't mind using the EVA 8. And of course, as well, you are allowed to have a hop up on there, which there means, okay, so you're getting faster reload, and of course as well, you are getting 10 rounds in a mag. So it does have a very, very good reason to be high up on this tier list. I don't think this gun cannot be S tier. The EVA 8 is a solid shotgun. So yeah, I'm 100% going to be putting the EVA 8 up in S. Moving on next, we have the Flatline. Now, the Flatline is a very, very good assault rifle. I love it. I think, honestly, it's a gun I've used probably the most this season because, one, the recoil is not too hard to actually learn. Yes, it's a little bit more difficult if you're used to using a 301, but the damage input is actually amazing. And of course, if you've got a good mag on that gun, you are going to absolutely lever some people, okay? So I really recommend, if you are a big fan of using the 301 and you want to be doing more damage, quicker times to kill, I would really use the Flatline because that weapon seriously does some big damage. So where do I think the Flatline deserves to live though? That is a very good question. I think it deserves to live in A, because I think that weapon is, 1, reliable, 2, easy to use, and 3, time to kill is brilliant on it. So I really do think it's one of those weapons that a lot of people sleep on, and you know, you can use it at close range, long range, and medium range. It's got it all. So yeah, 100% I think it deserves its slot in A. Moving into next, we have the G7. Now, the G7 is another one of those weapons which I have said in the past about it is a brilliant weapon, but people just don't use it. It does a lot more damage than things like a R301. It has a lot better damage input, and it is very easy to use. You know, it doesn't have much of a bullet drop, and you can really put some damage into teams. Of course, the hip fire on it is absolutely terrible, which is one of the reasons why not many people run it. Of course, at the end of the day, in this season, if you get into a close combat fight, not many people want to be using a, you know, G7 in a close bubble fight. So that's one of the reasons why you don't see it very often. Does that mean it doesn't deserve to be very high? I'm not really sure where I should put it. I think because this season, the way the meta is, that I don't want to be putting it too high. I almost feel like it could be on par with Devotion, but I almost feel like I might want to put it in B. I'm a bit torn with this one. I'm going to just go with C. I kind of feel like I should put it in B, but I'm going to go with C for now. Moving forward, we are moving into the Havoc. Now, the Havoc is a care package weapon this season, I should say, and it is really damn good. If you haven't been using the Havoc when you've seen it on the floor, I promise you guys, you should be picking it up, because that thing absolutely levers people. And as well, it does also have the hop up so that you can actually use it at long range as well. Brilliant, cool. You've got two things you can use with this weapon, and it really does nice. It's nice to be able to see the precision choke used again with the Havoc in the situation where you are able to actually use it at range and be able to, you know, shoot people at long distance. But I think once again, the Havoc, because it's a care package weapon, it's kind of a no-brainer where it belongs. It has to move into S tier. So we are going to move that straight in. I might have got the wrong hop up there, by the way, but I know for a fact 100% it is so damn good with that long range. Really, really nice. Moving into next, we have the Hemlock. Apologies, by the way, for the pictures. I know they're not the clearest. It was just the one that I found online. But yeah, the Hemlock is a solid weapon. Now, I haven't seen the Hemlock used a lot this season, though. Not many people use it as much as they used to. It used to be the go-to assault rifle, and now it has started to drop off a little bit. I think the damage rate got dropped a little bit. The fire rate got dropped. It has been taken down a notch. Now, is it still a good weapon? Yes, 100%. It's a nice one. At the end of the day, if you're running heavy and you can't find a flat line, cool, run the Hemlock. I promise you, you're still going to do a lot of damage with it. But of course, at the end of the day, it's a little bit like the G7. When you get into a close combat situation, you're also going to have burst fire, and it doesn't always make it the most reliable gun in the world. But the damage input is really good. It just happens that the season before, it was just honestly so good to kill. You were killing people in like 2 bursts. It was just ridiculous. Of course, it's taken a hit, and that's the reason why not many people use it. I don't think it can go in the same tier as the Flatline, because I really feel like the Flatline is better. So I'm going to put the Hemlock in B. Moving forward, we have the Kraber next. I'm sorry, it's a no-brainer. Kraber, you're going straight in at S. If anyone says otherwise, what the hell are you talking about? This gun can kill people in 1 bullet. It has to be in the S. Moving up to next, we have the Longbow. The Longbow is next up. Now, the Longbow, unfortunately, I don't think this weapon is very good at all. They have tried to buff it. They've tried to make it better, and I just feel like at the end of the day, they haven't really got very far with it. At the end of the day, I think they would have to bring back Skull Piercer, and that would make a difference. But at the moment, there is no reason to run a Longbow. There isn't. It's in the care package as well at the moment, a gold weapon, and I'm not going to lie, I've hardly ever picked it up, and if I have, I've always ended up regretting it. I don't think it's a gun that you want to be using this season. As I mentioned, this season it is all about close range and then mid to long range. You don't really want to be stuck in a bubble fight with a Longbow. So for that reason, I am going to have to slam it down, and I think I'm going to put it in E. I don't think it deserves to be an F, but it is very, very close. Moving into next, we have the Mastiff. Now, we all know the Mastiff is broken. This is a broken damn shotgun. Now, I mentioned earlier, a lot of people are torn between the two, whether they go with the Eva or they go with the Mastiff. I'm not going to lie, it doesn't matter which one I get. I love it either way, but the Mastiff can do so much damage that if you get the right shot, you can do like 158. Honestly, it is incredible how strong this gun is. So you have to use it. You've got to be using it. Yeah, genuinely, it has to be an S tier this season. Moving up to next, we have the Mozambiques. Now, of course, dual Kimbo Mozambiques has taken a hit this season, and I think it was even into last season, and that has made them drop off a lot. Of course, you are not doing the damage you were doing at long range with them, which was absolutely filthy last season. And of course, as well, we are just at the end of the day not seeing them as much. Yes, you do still have the option to have hammer points, which does still make them a valuable option if you do happen to find hammer points. But at the end of the day, as I just mentioned there, the Eva Ray and the Mastiff just do so much more damage. And in those close combat situations, in those bubble fights, whether it's with a Gibby, a Lifeline, a Newcastle, you know, at the end of the day, you just need someone that's going to hit hard. And at the end of the day, one shot with a Mozam's just not enough. You need to be obviously pumping them with like 3 or 4 to do something similar to what the Eva or the Mastiff can do. So it can't go as high as it did last season. I'm not going to lie, I feel like I want to put the Moseys in A, just purely because the range has dropped off. I really feel like that's the main reason why. I don't think I can put it, I mean I could put it in A. It's very close to A, and I'm not saying, you know, they're not very good at all anymore. They're really good, but I think the drop off of the range has really made a difference on the Mozambiques. Moving forward, we do have the P2020s. Now, these have had a buff. They are better this season. They are actually a lot better. And if anything, they could even be the better option to use than Mozambiques. But at the end of the day, you know, you've got to hit your shots with it. And I'm not going to lie, I just don't really like using Akimbos this season. I just feel like this season Akimbos has kind of gone out the window. I think the P2020s off a drop are excellent. Once again, you get Akimbo of those, you're looking, you're laughing, you're having a great time, and you're putting a lot of damage in really quickly. But of course, once again, once we get into a longer game, we get into bigger combats and things like that, I'm not going to want to be stuck there with P2020s. I'm not going to be able to use that for range. I'm not really going to be able to use it much for medium. It's going to be close and personal. And once again, if I'm close and personal, if a guy's got a Mastiff or an Eva, they're going to beat me. And the P20s are not going to be able to keep up with that gap. They're just not. They're going to fall off, and of course they're not going to be able to keep up. So I think they have to belong in B as well. I don't think they can go any higher, because if they did, I think that would just be a bit silly. Moving into next, we have the PK. Now, going back onto shotguns, as I just mentioned a second ago, we are talking about, like, say, how good shotgun meta is this season. Now, I really feel like the shotgun is, you know, PK is just one of these ones that, yes, it cannot be as good as obviously the top tiers, you know, the Mastiff and the Eva, but it is still a very good, reliable shotgun. Yes, I'm still going to pick that up if I can't find it either of the other two, but at the end of the day, it's still not strong enough. It's still not probably got the amount damage that I actually want. So I really feel like that is one of the main reasons why I wouldn't be taking it too high. I think if anything, I think it's probably on par with the Mozambiques. So I'm going to slot that in at B. But the damage input it does have available is very, very good. Moving into next, we have the Prowler. Now, the Prowler is an excellent weapon. I really like the Prowler, but at the end of the day, I feel once again it's kind of just dropped off because SMGs are not really in the meta. They're not there anymore. They're just dropped off, unfortunately. I just think that at the end of the day, you're gonna have to find something different, because it's, once again, if it's close and personal, you're not using a Prowler, you're using a shotgun, and then that's the main reason why the hip fire doesn't feel as good as it normally does. But obviously, if you are good with that weapon, you can do some serious damage. So I'm going to slot the Prowler in. I think personally I'm going to put it in at C, which once again is a bold call, but yeah, I feel like it's justified this season. Next up, we are going to go in with the R301. Now, the R301 is, once again, your super reliable weapon. It is super reliable, and it does everything you need it to do. It can obviously do the long range, it can do the short range, and it can even do close range. It's just damage input is a lot as good as it could be, but at the end of the day, if you're wanting to just hammer some big damage in and, you know, just do some good damage, then this is the weapon to have. It is just reliable as hell. So yeah, I would highly recommend using the 301 still. A lot of people don't, and a lot of people sleep on it still, but I just think it is still really good to still use. You know, if you want to one clip somebody and just put a lot of damage in, that's what the 301 can do, just purely because the recoil is so easy to use. So yeah, don't forget about it. Don't think that, oh, because its damage input isn't as good, my chair's sinking, oh my god, that it's not worth using anymore. It is worth using, but you're going to be better off with a stronger weapon, in my opinion. So where do I think the 301 belongs? Because of its damage input, do you know what? Because of its damage input, it's not as high, but its ease to use, I'm going to be fair, and I'm going to put it in B. Because only reason why is because it is better to use at close range than a G7. That's a hard one to say, but yeah, I'm going to go with that. Next up, we've got the R99. Now, the R99 is in the care packages weapon. Now, the R99, now I think it is a great weapon, but unfortunately, once again, we are in a situation where we are having shotgun meta. And I don't know about you guys, but 9 times out of 10, if I ever see an R9, at the end of the day, I'm not picking it up because a Mastiff or a Eva is just more valuable. You're not going to pick it up, but it's just, at the end of the day, you're just not going to. So it is actually the one time I feel like a care package weapon is just not necessarily needed as much. So for those reasons, I feel like you can't put it actually in S. I'm going to put it in A. I feel like this weapon could be better, or shotguns need to be nerfed. One or the other, but the fact that that weapon gets left in the care package and people don't take it tells you a lot about the weapon. Moving into next, we have the RE45. Now the RE45, once again, a reliable weapon off the drop, does have the ability to have hammer points, but we are in a situation, once again, as always, where the gun drops off, and I just don't see the point in carrying it for too long. Now, do I think it's better or worse than the alternator? I think it's probably on par, because the RE does a lot of damage. The fire rate is better, but it does have a smaller mag and it is less reliable. So for those reasons, I feel like it can't be higher, but of course it does have the hammer points. But how often would you say you drop off of on drop and you find hammer points straight away with an RE? You just don't. It never really happens. It's very rare if it was to. I just don't think those odds are really justified to make it any higher. So I am going to go and put that in D. Next up, we do have the Spitfire. By the way, guys, if you are worrying where there is weapons missing, I have realized that, and I'm going to have to go and make sure I put this all together. I'm going to add the rest of them in, so don't worry. But yeah, moving into next, we've got the Spitfire. Now, the Spitfire, once again, a nice, reliable weapon. Does a lot of damage, and it's very strong this season. It is a care package weapon as well. You can get a gold one, which is really good. But at the end of the day, I just feel like this weapon is really strong, and it does do a lot of damage. Okay, you know, it's not that hard to control. It has a slightly slower fire rate than things like the 301, but it's still a really good weapon. And if anything, I think it actually does more damage than a 301. It's just a case of, you know, and it's got a bigger magazine size. I think a lot of people, because it's obviously easier to use a 301 at range, that is the reason why a lot of people tend to go with the 301. But the Spitfire is so much better at close range and medium range than the 301, and it has a bigger magazine size. So I feel like it is justified to actually put the Spitfire higher than the 301. So I'm actually going to put the Spitfire in A, because also it's easy as hell to use. Anybody can use that, just spray and pray if they really need to. Moving into next, we have the Triple Take. Now the Triple Take, wow, this weapon, yeah. This sniper is something that a lot of people keep forgetting about. Now, genuinely, this weapon is so damn good. It is a seriously good weapon for just levering damage into teams, whether you're just trying to poke them off a drop, whether you're using it late game, and a lot of people have been using it with Rampart. I've watched a few people I know use this in comp, and it has been so good. I mean, if this weapon is used correctly, you can seriously damage some teams, and of course at the end of the day get some knocks, get some level up in your armor. You can really do a lot. It does almost work as a shotgun as well in close range, which is one of the other reasons why a lot of people are using it. But yeah, it's just so strong. For those reasons, I do feel like it needs to be high. Now, does it belong to be an S tier? I think no, not for now. I'm going to put it in A because damage output wise, and of course the ease to use and things like that is brilliant. Anybody can do damage with a triple take, and of course you can use it close range, but it's not S tier in my eyes. It's just not quite there. Moving into next, we do have the wingman. Now the wingman is unfortunately just not that thing anymore, man. It is just not it. It has just dropped right off. If I get a wingman off a drop, that's the only time, once again, I'm using it. I can't take it to late game. I can't carry it for too long because it does just drop right off. I remember back in the day playing games of comp and things like that and using a wingman until late game, using it with like a bruiser, doing it almost like a sniper, just popping damage in. It was beautiful, but the wingman just isn't it anymore. It has really dropped off, and its ease to use is not very easy. If you're somebody who's new to the game and you're not very good with single fire weapons, then of course this is not going to go well in your favor. So for those reasons, I almost feel like I need to be almost a little bit harsh here, and it's going to pain me to say this, but I actually feel like the wingman deserves to personally be all the way down in E. I know that hurts to say that. 1 second as I quickly go and get the last few pictures because we're missing quite a few here. Okay, we are back. I found a way better tier list, so I'm sorry for the color change. At the end of the day, I just ended up going like, you know what, we'll use this one. It was a season 21, which is why some of the weapons may be wrong, because obviously that either rate's not in the care package, but I thought the pictures and diagrams are so much better. So we're going to be using this to finish off the video. So let's dive straight into it. Okay, so the weapons that we have missed so far, we've still got the repeater to go through, the rampage, the car, the sentinel, the charge rifle, the bow check, the nemesis, and I believe there is also the vault and the L-star. So missed quite a few, didn't we, in that last one? So moving straight in, we've got the repeater. Now the 30-30 is a beautiful weapon, but once again, I just feel like I'm not going to take that weapon very far into this game. I feel like I'm going to end up dropping off of it. The most I've used this weapon is it close range. I would not even close range, sorry, just off a drop when I've been wanting to like do a little bit of damage and potentially you just get some damage input into some teams and put pressure on. I don't really take this gun very far late game. I feel like it does just drop off very quickly, especially with the removal of Skull Piercer. Again, this gun has felt the difference. I think I'm going to put it in with the G7 in C. Moving up to next, we have the rampage. Now the rampage, a lot of people once again don't use this gun very long, but that's because once again they're using the thermite, they're not using the thing that it is strongest with. And if you use this gun ramped up, even if it's just early game, your time to kill is going to be so damn quick and the damage input is going to be unbelievable. This gun can be used obviously later into the game as well, and it is extremely useful to use, and it's easy to use as well, especially with obviously it might have a slightly slower fire rate, but the damage input is easy to control and it is a good reliable weapon. For that reasoning, do I think it deserves to go very high? I actually feel like even though it is a really strong weapon and you know, you might want to take it into the later game a little bit more, you only going to benefit from having thermites with this weapon, and I think for that reason it would be unfair for me to put it too high up. So I think I am going to go and slot it in with the 30-30 in C. Moving forward, we've now got the car. Now, not many people this season I have seen using the car, but you know what? The car is actually so good. The recoil is really easy and the time to kill on it is actually mental. I think a lot of people are just sleeping on it because the car was really bad last season. I really would recommend, if you are in one of those situations where you don't know what to pick up, genuinely pick up the car. Even if it's off a drop, don't pick up an alternator, pick up the car, because the car's fire rate is actually lethal. You can of course get a gold car as well at the moment. I wouldn't say drop your shotgun for it, but if there's a gun potentially that maybe you haven't found the right shotgun and maybe you don't have the attachments, I would really recommend using the car. It is such a reliable gun. So for that reason, we are going to be putting the car in B tier. Moving next, we have the Sentinel. Now the Sentinel, if you get this gun charged up, you can do some serious damage. 120 something to the head. It is so damn powerful. Once again, though, this is not one of those seasons where you want to be taking this gun on for too long. You don't want to be taking it into that late game. The time to use it as well, obviously, it happens where you're poking people and things like that. You're probably going to be wanting to use the Sentinel more in comp. I wouldn't recommend using it in ranked, especially at the weight it's going. You know, it's all about full sending and it's all about pushing and going for it. So there's no reason for this gun to be too high up in the actual tier list. Now, it's definitely better than the longbow. You have a lot better ease to use, and you can use this weapon obviously to do some serious damage and nuisance to teams. You still got to hit your shots though, so obviously skill to use is a little bit harder, but I think at the end of the day, you know, it's easier to use than the longbow. So where do I think it belongs? Now, I'm going to be once again a hard critique. I just feel like this gun drops off quite a lot once again late game, but of course it does do a lot of damage. So for that reason, I'm going to sit it in B. Moving next, we have the charge rifle. This must be a French tier list because it's called the Fusil et Judge. The charge rifle. The charge rifle, in my opinion, is the worst sniper. I'm not going to lie. Actually, do you know what? I might even do a little bit of a Yui here, actually. Because I actually think the longbow sucks more. I'm going to do it. Now, I don't rate the charge rifle at all. But I actually think the longbow's worse than it. Thinking about it more and more here. Now, yes, there's a little bit more time and skill with the charge rifle. You've got to time it right. You've got to make sure you shoot it correctly. But if you hit with this weapon, especially off a drop, it is seriously strong. I feel like this weapon is, once again, it's not you're not going to use it late, especially not in this season. But at the end of the day, I think I'd rather use a charge rifle off a drop than I would do a longbow. So for that reason, I am going to chuck them around. I'm going to switch it. I didn't think I would do that, but the longbow's going in F. You're going up, charge rifle. Well done. You're in E. Wow. Next up, we got the bow check. Now, bow check's damage is freaking incredible. Now, if you have not used the bow check much, obviously, at the end of the day, this gun is, well, this bow, not even a gun, it's just going to absolutely lever damage into people. And it's really good for those situations where you've got height, maybe you're looking down at a team, you just want to keep poking them, wasting their heals and just putting in some serious damage and maybe hassling people on their rotations. This bow check can do that. So for those reasons, of course, it's not going to be very useful at close range, but my gosh, this gun is very, very strong, especially at that distance. But it's got a quicker fire rate than a Sentinel. I think it has to go above the Senti. I'm not going to put it in S, but I think it has to go above the Sentinel because of the fire rate. You can seriously fire so many bows. You have a lot of time more for forgiveness if you do miss, because you can just go again and go and again and go and again, and you can put some really good damage in. The damage obviously input is not as high as the Sentinel, but it takes longer for the Sentinel to be ready to shoot again. So for that reason, I'm going to put this bow check in A. We got 3 more weapons. We got the Nemesis. Now, the Nemesis time to kill is absolutely disgusting. Once that thing is fully charged up, it absolutely rinses through people, and it is really damn good. Now, of course, there's a little bit more time to skill with it, because you can't just hold it down. You've got to obviously burst, and then of course when it starts getting faster, the recoil pattern starts to get harder. Now, that doesn't make a difference if you learn it though. If you start to feel confident with the weapon, it's not that hard to actually control it. You just might have to hold it down a little bit more. It's not like it sways off too much. It's very easy to control. Now, the time to kill on it is brilliant. I think this weapon needs to go in A. I think that's S. A. I think it really is perfect for A. I think it's not S, because it's not as strong as the next weapon that's coming up. That's not actually not right. The last weapon that's coming up. But out of the energy weapons, I think because of the Havocs in the care package, I think the Nemesis is actually the second best energy weapon. Probably giving away who I think's number 1. Volt. Now, the Volt is super reliable, but the Volt is unfortunately in one of those seasons where shotguns overrule it. Now, it's once again, it's very good off a drop. It's very good for those fights where you are potentially seeing someone run into a bubble, maybe seeing them move into a position, and you just want to lever them with damage. And this gun is easy to do. There's no recoil on it. It's easy as anything to use. It's brilliant. It's good at close and it's good at mid-range. Obviously, it's not good at long range, but, you know, you deal with that. But do I think it belongs to be high up with, obviously, the season we've got? No, but I think I would probably put it on par with the car. So I'm going to stick the Volt in B. And last but not least, we do have the L-Star. Guys, I'm sorry, but that is a no-brainer. If you've not used the L-Star this season, you are sleeping on it. The L-Star this season is absolutely broken. It is actually so damn strong. You get just destroyed with it. The time to kill, of course, at the end of the day, there's no actual reload on it. If you time it correctly, you can use it at mid to long range. You can use it at close. You can do so much with this weapon. I just feel like it's just absolutely disgusting. We should have seen this coming. As soon as they put the Havoc into the care package, what do you think's going to happen? Yes, the L-Star's going to come into meta. It is ridiculous. I mean, I think a lot of people just slept on the L-Star beforehand. The L-Star's not had a lot done to it. And I think now people are just using it because the Havoc is not available. But yeah, I really think it has to be S tier. So guys, that is my tier list. Apologies for swapping tier list pages halfway through the video, but I really feel like this is probably the better layout. You can actually see the weapons and the names. But guys, let me know in the comments down below. Do you agree with my tier list? Do you think this is good? Do you think this is wrong? Tell me what you would change. I've been a harsh critique here because I've not just gone with, you know, keeping them all at the top. I've really tried to get down to the nitty gritty on what I think is best and what's worse. So yeah, guys, if you have enjoyed the video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next video.